Boom! There it is! The Lateral Show, live for the first time! We did it! We did it, folks. We did it. It's going to be a podcast by the time you hear this because it's normally a podcast. But if you're watching this, it's a video and it's live because that's how time works. Anyways, I am Herms. You can follow me on Twitter at HermsNFL. Right below me is McLateral. Say hello, McLateral.
Hello, McLateral.
Ah, there you go. Taking it to literal town. It's the Literal Show. And we are doing a PPR mock draft this week. It's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited, especially because we have two fabulous guests. Jay, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first because you appeared next in the order on the screen.
All right. Well, I am GMenJ. You can follow me on Twitter at GMenJ. I write for Roto Underworld, and I'm a part of the team at Front Yard Fantasy. My official title is Director of Stuff/Things over there. Do a lot of stuff in the background, and then me and my guy Eagle Dan have some stuff in the works that you guys will be seeing soon.
Nice. Looking forward to it. And we have another friend. Oh, all the way down there at the bottom. And also, fun fact, I got a cut today at work, and I found an orange Band-Aid. I thought that you would appreciate that. There you go.
I do appreciate that. It's my favorite color. Every time we play any kind of color game, my daughter's like, it's orange, isn't it? I'm like, I really got to mix it up over here. But I'm glad I got to come on because we talked about it, and then we didn't talk about it for a while, and then you texted me Tuesday, and I was like, yeah, I'll let you know when I get to work. And then my kid was sick, and I didn't go to work. And today at like noon, I was like, oh, yeah, I finally checked my planner. I'm good to go. So I'm glad I got to be on.
Nice. Tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Lindellions. That's mostly the easiest way to do that.
There it is. Solid stuff. Solid stuff all around. Oh, gosh. Are you guys excited for this? Because I'm really excited for this.
Absolutely. I'm ready to roll.
I've got pick 12. Everything sucks.
Well, you know, you snooze. You actually, well, yeah, didn't you?
Literally, you were the only person who had picked a freaking slot in the mock before me. Like, there's only two people that knew at the time, and you took 106, knowing that that is my preferred slot. How dare you?
I'm so sorry.
Herms, was that on purpose?
It was absolutely on purpose.
I mean, it might have been, but
I'm literally drafting at 106 in Scott Fishbowl. You should have taken 109, stayed in your damn lane. How dare you?
Ah, jeez. Well, before I get too eviscerated over this, here's what we're going to do: 12 rounds, PPR, redraft, mock draft. We're keeping it pretty simple in terms of the format, just like one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, tight end, a flex spot. And then the rest is just bench spots. So, for those of you that will be, listening to this as a podcast, it's going to be weird trying to follow along just because obviously there's no visual component to an audio podcast. But if you want to follow along with the draft, we have it pulled up on our screen live right now on Sleeper. Check it out on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. The rebroadcast will, still be up on our Twitter page at the Lateral FF. And also, last thing to plug, just because I already plugged the other two things, we have a website, www.thelateralff.com, where you can find written stuff and links to all the fun things that we do. So, yeah, there's that. I don't know. I don't think there's much else to go over. So, without further ado, let's just get this thing rolling.
Let's do it.
Good.
Well, first I have to crack open my Topo Chico hard seltzer, the only hard seltzer that is approved by the Lateral Show.
Oh, shots
Yum.
fired early.
I'm coming at all of you. No one is safe.
Yeah,
Watch
I can
out.
feel that.
I've got Food Line brand regular old seltzer water, so watch out.
Yeah.
Getting real crazy over here.
That cheap seltzer can go with your cheap Giants, Jay. So
Whoa,
Hey,
all right.
Whoa,
Let's
go.
see. Let's see what happens.
Getting spicy. Well, for the record, since we're already going through this, I have my trademarked Mango Ritas. Fantastic. Very cheap at my local gas station. Linda,
I've heard Troy loves the strawberries. Is what I've heard from a few different people. So
they're very good.
He drinks them while he listens to Nickelback.
Yes.
I'm not drinking tonight. That's a lie. I'm drinking Trulies.
Of course. Gotta keeping it on brand.
I was going to say, my entire bit is all for naught if you're not drinking Truly.
I
I had to drive 30 miles to buy this damn thing.
Without further ado, everyone, it is now live. The mock draft is live. That was kind of an abrupt transition, but to be fair, anybody who's ever, watched us and listened to the show, they know that I'm not very good at making smooth transitions.
Breaking news. Christian McCaffrey off the board. Okay, moving on.
Oh, Panthers fan takes Christian McCaffrey. Shocker.
Wow.
Right, that's why he took him.
Who would you have taken, Jay?
Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
But that's here nor there. I'd just like to take a shot at Jordan.
I'm just making sure you were going to say Saquon Barkley.
No.
Okay, Dalvin Cook 102, Zeke 103. I think that's a little surprising.
Yeah, a little bit, and then closely followed by Saquon Barkley. The
Kamara. Okay, I'd say Elliott at 3 is really the biggest surprise I've seen so far. Thoughts
100%.
around the? Okay, Herm's taking Najee Harris at 106.
We shall see about that, but luckily I made the pick timer about 5 minutes, so that way we could go through and make it so that everybody can share their thoughts on their picks. Jay, you took Alvin Kamara at 105. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I think if there wasn't this confusion about Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston, I think Kamara would be right after Cook and McCaffrey. But we saw it at the end of the season last year where he won people fantasy championships. He can perform when Taysom Hill's out there. I think he's going to be perfectly fine, whether it's Jameis, whether it's Taysom. I think both are going to get involved. Even if Barkley was there, I still would have taken Kamara over him. I love Barkley, but I'm a little concerned that they're going to ease him in at the beginning of the season, and we don't know what he's going to look like. Henry or Chubb are the only two other guys that I considered. Henry, when it comes to running backs, I prefer to be a year too early versus a year too late when the cliff comes. And Derrick Henry has a lot of miles on his legs, especially the past couple of years, but people don't realize he's been in the league for a while. He shared the backfield with DeMarco Murray back in the day. And, I'm a little concerned that, spending that kind of pick on a guy that has that many miles on his legs, I can't do it. I could very well be wrong. He could go out and rush for another 2,000 yards, and I would not be surprised. But for me, I would rather be a little more risk averse with my first round pick.
I feel you.
Well, I agree with that entire Derrick Henry thing. Can you not say back in the day at me like that? Because that felt like an attack.
I'm proud. I'm older than you, Linda, I'm sure. So
it was very aggressive back in the day.
I
mean, like the other day, and it was like 4 years ago. So I'm just saying we can bring that down a notch.
He shared the backfield a few days ago with DeMarco Murray. Is that better for you, Linda?
I appreciate that.
You got that. Anything, Linda? Anything for you?
So before I make my pick, Malcolm, any thoughts on Alvin Kamara? And also keep the train going. Thoughts on Derrick Henry? Just because the name came up, it's the topic of the moment.
So since he won't fall to me, I feel safe saying this. If Derrick Henry falls to me, I'm going to take him. He would be the person I would expect Jay to take here, mostly because I'd expect Elliott not to have been taken at 3. So therefore, Kamara would have hopefully gone at 4. And Barkley would have gone at 3 or vice versa. And therefore, Henry would have been the best option for Jay at 5. That's kind of how I have him in my head. If you look at last year's PPR points per game, it's a decent cliff from Cook and Kamara down to Henry. And so it is still PPR. I think Kamara is just going to be fine. He's clearly the number 1 offensive weapon on that team. So I like the pick. I would argue it's potentially even just the tiniest bit, as much as you can get in round 1, a little bit of value for Jay there. So I do like the pick. And then Henry, I think he'll be plenty good. I think whoever takes him is going to be just fine.
You love to see it. You love to see it. And speaking of Alvin Kamara, his former offensive coordinator, now with the Los Angeles Chargers, I like what that could potentially do for my pick of Austin Eckler.
Wow.
Boom. There it is. He is my highest ranked running back remaining, and I like to go running back in the first round. Linda, what are your thoughts on this pick?
It's ballsy, but I like it. I love that entire offense. Like even Jared Cook late, I love that whole offense. So I can't argue with that at all. I don't think it's that surprising he finishes as a running back 1. So I love it.
I'm glad you said Jared Cook, even though he's like 187 years old. He's the perfect
He
type of
catches
guy. That's right.
touchdowns.
He's the perfect type of tight end target. If I don't like to go tight end early, that I might spoil this mock draft, but I don't like to use that kind of draft capital. So I would rather take a few guys like a Jared Cook. Like I won't name any others, but there are a few others that you'll see, and I can talk about if they come up. But those type of guys, I'd rather just take a shot, on some value at the end of a draft versus using draft capital early on a tight end.
I feel that. Hey, Linda, it's up to you. It's up to your pick. What are you thinking here?
Love it.
I'm gonna do exactly what Jay just said not to do, and I'm
I
gonna
love
pick
it.
Travis Kelce.
Not
Without-
to do it. It's just
without
not
a-
how I play. That's all.
Yeah, listen, Scott Fishbowl 105. I'm like, if Kelsey falls to me, I'm 100% gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna take Travis Kelce.
He probably
And
went
then
104.
it got to 105. Nope, he was there at 105. I couldn't pull the trigger.
I
But
took him
this
at
late-
106. Zero regrets.
Yeah, no. I mean, now I'm looking at my. I did some mocks with him. I didn't like it as much as going quarterback first, so that played into it a little bit. But for a regular redraft league, I think his upside is just his. He's so much more valuable than every other tight end, so long as he's healthy and Pat Mahomes is healthy. Their offensive line got even better. I just don't see anything being an issue this year for Travis Kelce.
Lose
All
terms.
We might have.
All right. Well, I'm technically going to be running the show for the next 2 seconds and vamping while Herms comes back. I do like the Kelsey pick, Linda. I think it is a good choice, especially because the positional advantage it can give you. I would say that Kelsey's unlikely to fall off a cliff this year. Like, may someone finally overtake him? Perhaps. But we don't expect that offense to change a ton. We expect him, if he stays healthy, which, knock on wood, there's no reason to expect he won't be, to continue his production level, to continue his usage levels. So I'm not worried about it. I get, some people might think it's a little bit of a reach, but I think this year, at least for redraft, you're fine.
Hey, so I dropped out there for a sec. That was probably weird, but for those of you listening on, the podcast version of this, you'll never know unless it was brought up. I don't know. Things are
Or
weird.
did you? Maybe we're
geez.
just playing a trick on people who are listening and not watching.
Who knows? It's possible. Geez. Hey, Malcolm. It's up to your pick. Do you want to recap the first round real quick and then just take us into your thought process for this pick here back to back?
All right. We're going to go through Lateral's quick rundown of the first round. 101, Christian McCaffrey, good pick. 102, Dalvin Cook, good pick. 103, Ezekiel Elliott, reach. 104, Saquon Barkley, good pick. 105, Alvin Kamara, good pick. Austin Eckler, 106, definitely a reach. See if that works out.
Hey.
Eric Henry, 1-7, pretty much spot on. Jonathan Taylor, 1-8. This one is the most interesting to me. I get there's a lot of stuff that potentially makes everyone have cold feet about Jonathan Taylor, but I actually have him ranked pretty high right now. I think I have him ranked as my RB5 at the moment. So I think that's actually decent value. As I already explained, I love Linda's pick of Travis Kelce. I do like the Tyreek Hill pick at 110 potentially.
Your voice says otherwise.
It's for me, there's such a run on running back. I still want to make sure that I'm getting a running back one in my first two picks for sure. Here's the thing, though. They are close enough with that team 10 pick that, I feel confident he could potentially get someone, or she could get someone. I really don't know who that is.
It's the computer.
And so that is our lone bot. Great. So it's
the lateral bot. Yes.
they could snag a wide receiver, running back rather, at 2-3. So it goes. Chubb. There is definitely someone I had higher than Chubb still available, but I like Nick Chubb. I think he's really good. Recently traded for him in a dynasty league, and I'm very happy with it. But the guy I have still ahead of him is my pick, Aaron Jones.
Boom!
Love me some Aaron Jones. I have him currently ranked as my RB7. So love to get him here at RB. What are we at? RB10. So solid value. Definitely digging it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and grab my next favorite RB. I currently actually have Joe Mixon ranked just ahead of this guy, but that is actually going to change in the near future because I love me some Najee Harris.
Fuck you! Oh, damn it!
I knew that was coming.
Shit!
My
Oh,
RBs
this is
are now
awful.
set. Like, I only need to fill 2 wide receiver slots, so I'm not as worried about spending an earlier pick on a wide receiver. I'm hopeful that someone will fall to me. So I'm now set at running back. I don't have to worry. I love it.
Oh God, it hurts. It hurts so much. I mean, I knew there was no chance of me getting Najee Harris by the time I picked again, but it still hurts all the same. Oh gosh, I don't know. Then after that, we see Joe Mixon come off the board, and then the lateral bot decides to double up on.
So
two
now
wide receivers.
I don't love those picks, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, Tyreek Hill, Devontae. I mean, like, hey, you know, the lateral bot. You know, everybody knows how the lateral bot feels about zero RB. You know, maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe not. We'll see how it is. You know, actually, well, come to think of it, Jay, how do you feel about just more philosophically speaking, like, you know, zooming out a little bit, like bypassing running back within the first 2 rounds in redraft or whatever? Like, at what point does it become one of those things where you're playing with fire, in your opinion?
So I am team robust RB. Well, first off, I am team play the board. What value falls to you? Value
That
based
is the
drafting.
correct answer.
Not going in saying I'm not drafting running backs. I'm not drafting wide receivers. That being said, I like to go running backs early and often because I feel like there's such a big and my guy Dan drafting Visca and Scott Fishbowl. You'll be very happy. I know Herms is a member of the Team Visca fan club, so you're gonna love that pick, Dan. But I do like to go running back early and often just because I feel like there is such a drop off between, you know, there's definitely the Cook and CMC tier, and then I really feel like the Barkley, Kamara, Elliott. I'd put Nick Chubb up there. Those guys are kind of like a step below. And then you've got the back end RB1s who could potentially jump into the top 5. Then it just gets really ugly really quick. There is so much wide receiver value to be had. You know, obviously the guys that you're going to get in the 5th, 6th round aren't going to be as good as your Tyreek Hills and your Devontae Adams, but there isn't as big of a drop off as there is from, you know, Alvin Kamara to Melvin Gordon, or, you know, those guys that are around that area.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, dude. Linda, thoughts on this as we take it into your pick?
Well, first of all, thanks for stalling because my sleeper app froze. So we're gonna hope I can get this together.
Oh no!
We got a couple. We're gonna be fine. But
Well, Hearns can pause it worst case if we need to.
Oh yeah, no problem.
I will say that I'm pretty into taking wide receivers when they fall, when everybody goes heavy running back. And this is heavy running back. I mean, there's usually some other stuff mixed in. So especially when I'm talking about like my home leagues and stuff, if Aaron Jones would have fallen, I would have taken that in a heartbeat. If Nick Chubb would have fallen, that would have been fine. But I feel like Stephon Diggs is the high upside play for that. So I guess we're going to keep rolling without a running back.
I would say at this point, you did reach the point where there is no longer a running back without some sort of question mark. So I do get that. I think you picked the wrong wide receiver because Calvin Ridley is wide receiver number 1 for 2021.
Ooh, that is ballsy.
But that being said,
I like it.
You trust Matt Ryan to produce a wide receiver 1, the number 1?
Yeah, especially without Julio Jones being next to him. Like, Calvin Ridley was
They already have
absolutely
Hall
on
of
a tear.
Famer Kyle Pitts. So
I was gonna say, have you heard about that rookie tight end they got?
Yeah, it's still a
pretty
tight
good.
end. It's
Nope,
still
never
a
heard of
rookie.
him.
Even if he
he's going to play wide receiver?
Even if he exceeds expectations, he's still not going to get the same target share as Hall of Famer Julio Jones. Ridley is now the wide receiver 1 on that team.
I'm pretty
Patty
sure Kyle
decided to
Pitts is a
bust
Hall
in
of Famer.
He might
Already.
be, but
They
I
have
know
this bust in
I
Kenny
know
already.
for a fact that Julio Jones is a Hall of Famer. Julio Jones could go into the Hall of Fame for just being on the hands team and special teams in like defense situations. Like, the dude is phenomenal. And Calvin Ridley is like right there. He's like right there. He's now the wide receiver 1 and that offense. Matt Ryan is going to have to throw the ball a little more than your typical Arthur Smith offense will, though not as much as a Dirk Cutter offense would. And Mike Davis is not good enough at running back. They will have to throw the ball a little more often, I think, than Arthur Smith would like to. And with the amount of work that Calvin Ridley, a dominant wide receiver 1, should already see, I just love that. I'm so ready for it, and I believe in the talent.
I'm here for it. 100%.
Yeah. Hey, me too.
Yeah, and
I should have said it closer to my pick, but that is what it is.
Nah, it's fine. But hey, if you got your guys, believe in your guys, and stand by your takes. That's a very important thing to do in this industry. So after the Stephon Diggs pick, we ended up with Cam Akers right after him, followed by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, rolling in to my pick. Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Oh, jeez. I know what I'm gonna do, because we talked about this, I believe, on episode 1 of the Lateral Show. I believe in taking tight end early and making sure that you get one of the 3 major dudes. And, as nice as it would be to have Travis Kelce on my team, the investment cost is a little too much for me, even though I think it's fair. Travis Kelce is a first-round pick. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But I'd rather wait until the second round and take my guy, Darren Waller. Boom. There it is. Yes. 100%.
The real thing here is Darren Waller is your tight end 1 for 2021. Let the good people know what's up.
Yes, that is true. Because, and I've talked about it before, and, for the sake of this podcast, I'll do it again. Seriously, since over the last couple of years, I know the sample size is relatively small, but, on a, per game basis, both Kelce and Waller somewhere around, just like the, what was it? What was the numbers we ended up with? It was 5 catches or so, however many some yards and half a touchdown a game or whatever. They averaged the same number ish of receptions, receiving yards, and the 50-50 touchdown potential. It's identical, but
I'm pretty sure they had literally the same number of targets last year. Exact same number. I think it was 145 targets apiece.
Yeah. So for me, in my mind, I'm just at worst, I'm getting 80% of Travis Kelce a full round later. Yeah, dude, sign me up for that. I don't know. Jay, am I crazy?
No, not at all. I love Darren Waller. Honestly, I think taking him in the middle of the second, like you said, I would rather do that and pair him with the RB1 like Eckler versus, no offense, Linda. I'm a running back early and often guy, so that would scare me to not have a running back at this point. So for me, I would rather take the early running back and pair him with Waller versus Kelce and a wide receiver.
You running back people are so boring.
That seems like a very specific dig. Or
so
perhaps
boring.
a specific digs.
I'm going to be
fun. Am I doing it?
I'm going to be even more boring and go with another running back and Mr. J.K. Dobbins. So
that's a real shame.
Can you explain that?
Antonio Gibson was still on the board, right?
I do, yep. And I looked at him. I thought about it. I know a lot of people are down on Dobbins because of Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson. But
how about the fact that they get 1 target per game?
What's that?
The Ravens backfield gets 1 target per game.
Well,
this is PPR.
That's fine. Correct. But they also run the ball a ton. And he led all running backs with 6 yards per carry. He had 9 touchdowns last year. Patty decided she wanted to join us. I think that he's explosive enough. They're going to involve him all over the field. I'm still all in on J.K. Dobbins.
And I that's definitely I've had my mixed feelings for sure. Especially because Malcolm and I had talked about it in our running back breakdown episode. Just because for as much as he is very effective in the rushing department, there are some weird things with the receiving stuff. But to your point, Jay, he's so effective. Just on a per carry basis, it's I don't know, maybe he could overcome that. But we'll see how that ends up. But another guy that is contentious, picked right after you, we go DeAndre Swift, and then another DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, and Antonio Gibson to round out the second round.
That's I genuinely love Jordan's turn here. The Antonio Gibson, Calvin Ridley pairing to go with Christian McCaffrey. I like Jordan's draft currently more than I like my draft, and I literally got 2 guys that I wanted.
Oh, but check out what he
tell
did.
Jordan I said this, but he's actually a pretty smart guy. But don't mess
But hey, but check out what Jordan did after that, and catch us up to speed on the third round.
Yeah, so real quick, Josh, I know you're saying he's going to get more than 1 target a game, but if you look at the targets per game last year for the Ravens, who are not going to change that part of their offense that much, it was 1.7 targets per game, I'm pretty sure. So I would not hold your breath on the 3 to 5 that you're hoping for. I just don't see it happening in that Greg Roman offense. If anything, I think they'll throw more to wide receiver than to the running backs. I do like the wide receivers that are getting taken here. I think actually, Jay, you just got a steal, get an AJ Brown there. So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I'm ecstatic to get AJ Brown as my wide receiver one. If this was before the Julio Jones news, he probably would have been in talks to go as the first wide receiver off the board. I saw him, in Dynasty and redraft go as early as one, no later than about the 5th. So to get him in the middle of the 3rd round and pair him with my 2 running backs, I'm absolutely ecstatic. I think Julio Jones is only going to help him, take away some of that attention. Everybody's disappointed that AJ Brown isn't going to get the same amount of targets, but now he's going to have Julio Jones pulling secondary away from him, pulling attention away from him. How are you going to stop the Titans offense with Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, AJ Brown? It's what Jordan say, Jay's team's like my team, but I better. All right, we'll see, Jordan. I'm used to it. After I gave him a compliment too, I take back everything I said about him. But to get him this late, I am very, very happy.
No, dude, I absolutely adore that. I mean, and plus, AJ Brown, that's a dude that, because like you said, prior to the Julio Jones news, there was a very, very real non-zero chance that I was going to have him as my wide receiver 1 overall. I mean, the dude is he's built different. Have you seen him physically? Just, oh my gosh, like he's a beast and like a yak monster. Seriously. He's like, once the ball gets in his hands, it's very hard to bring him down. It's ridiculous. I don't know how he does it. Oh my gosh. Gee. Oh God. Hey,
and
Linda.
Real quick, Josh, if it's actually 5 targets per game for J.K. Dobbins, I will take your $7.2 million bet. I am going to win that. J.K. Dobbins is not getting 5 targets a game.
Jeez. Oh gosh. Hey, Linda, while I stall to figure out what I'm going to do with my pick, let's just do like a little, recap of the early part of the, 3rd round. Because before Jay took AJ Brown, we saw Calvin Ridley, George Kittle, Keenan Allen, Michael Thomas go right before him. Is there anything that really stands out here? Because I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is the fact that, like, wow, Michael Thomas in the 3rd round. What? But that's just my take. What are your takes?
Yeah, Michael Thomas seems really early. People have been getting him in like the 4th and 5th of super flex leagues, so I would assume that he would have. I would have figured he'd fallen farther than that. And Keenan Allen has also been taking a bit of a plummet, which sucked because I kind of wished I would have been able to get them both. But I do like Keenan Allen there. I think Keenan and Justin Herbert have a real shot at finishing overall number 1 at their positions respectively, just because I think that offense is going to be so high powered. So I think Keenan Allen, anything after wide receiver like 4 is of value in my opinion. And he's there all the time. So
I love it. I love it 100%. And speaking of values, actually, no, this probably isn't a very good value because I did this exact thing that I'm about to do in the Scott Fish Bowl, and I got clowned for it. But I stand by my take, and I'm going to do it. I'm taking Terry McLaurin over the available Allen Robinson, over the available Justin Jefferson, and I don't care. I don't care what anyone says, damn it, because here's the thing. I look back at, the history of Ryan Fitzpatrick. When he locks onto a dude, he really loves that dude. I really think there's a realistic chance that we could see Terry McLaurin end up with just like well over like 130 targets and he just returns insane value. I'm sticking to my guns with this one and just, I don't know. Linda, I'll throw it back to you. Like, am I nuts for going McLaurin here over some of the available guys or nah?
No, I like McLaurin. I like that. It's another offense that I really don't hate any particular piece of. Fitzpatrick is a gunslinger. I almost said Matt Ryan, but that's not what I meant. We're not talking about Calvin Ridley anymore. God damn it. So I like really all the pieces of that offense. I don't think it's a reach. Like you said, at this point, you're shooting for a guy that's going to be a low end tight end 1, high end tight end or wide receiver 1. I am drinking. Can you guys tell?
Shout out alcohol. Yeah.
a low-end wide receiver 1 and a high-end wide receiver 2 in Terry McLaurin, and I think you're going to get both those weeks out of him. So I'm not mad at that at all. I am mad that Allen Robinson went, though.
Well, hey, if you need time to stall, we could always throw it back up to McLateral for his takes. Hey, what do you think, buddy?
My take is also that I'm mad that Allen Robinson just went. I was kind of hoping to get Allen Robinson. And I'm now having to consider what I'm going to do at my turn, which is going to be a very interesting proposition, to be honest. Wow, we've already got 3 tight ends off the board. We've got 12. So we've got through our first set of wide receivers. We're beyond our first set of running backs. I mean, we're getting into question mark territory, and it's going to be really interesting to see what choices are made here. I don't think anything. So I say the big one that stands out to me is I think DeAndre Swift went way too high. I think that is the biggest of all the pieces that have currently gone off the board. I do not believe DeAndre Swift should be off the board at this point. I'm very concerned about what they're going to do with that offense with Jamal Williams. I think there's a real chance that they utilize him a fair amount. Do I think he's going to replace DeAndre Swift? No, of course not. But Swift did not play a full season last season. Do I hope he will this season? Yes. Is there a good reason to suspect he will? Yes. But I just I have him lower. I've got him, I think, in the RB18 territory. And so that would be a little rich for my blood there. Yeah, I do have him at RB18, just below J.K. Dobbins, by the way.
And hey, I echo a lot of those same sentiments, and we've had this conversation, publicly and even privately, just about, the way that we feel about DeAndre Swift. And actually, the running back that Linda just took is somebody that I know for a fact we both have higher.
Yes,
shout out for the Chris Carson love in
Love
the
that
mock.
pick.
Yes. Oh, please take us into your mind on that one. Because, I mean, obviously, we all agree, but just, shed some light for those who are skeptical.
I was going to completely punt running back, but in the fear that he didn't make it back to me one more round, and after Allen Robinson went, I love Chris Carson. If Chris Carson had even a subpar offensive line, he would be an absolute animal. He fights through everything. He plays hard. He's somebody that I like to root for. So on top of the fact that he always produces in that Pete Carroll offense, he went back to, I think, the one place that was going to hold his value in free agency. He just re-signed, and I think that was fantastic for Seattle and for Chris Carson. I'm not worried about Rashad Penny or whatever the hell that kink is. And so I'm all in on Carson every year. He's a value, so I'm not mad at that at all.
Nice. Because I want to say I think I have him as my RB12. I do firmly have him in just back into the running back ones, but a running back one nonetheless. And plus, because like you said with the whole Rashad Penny thing, I think that those days are starting to become numbered very, very quickly, because didn't he already have another medical procedure this offseason now?
Yeah, he's hurt again.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
Somebody told me once that he got he did well with the touches that he got, and no, he didn't. He needed double the touches to get close to the yardage that Chris Carson was getting. That's not doing well with your touches. And again, not entirely his fault. It's not a great offensive line, but in that case, then you need a big guy like Carson that's that bruising. It doesn't matter if there's a hole or not running back. So
yeah, no,
I don't know. I don't get the Rashad Penny thing at all.
Well, yeah, I don't get it either. But another thing I don't get all the time. Boom, segue. Ha. I don't always get what's going on in the mind of McLateral, but he's up again with some back-to-back picks. So what do you got, dude?
Well, so most of the wide receiver ones are gone, but my wide receiver 12 is still on the board, and I am going to take him here. And that is DJ Moore.
Oh,
Love that.
I love the depth of target. I get that Sam Darnold, not necessarily the best person for executing that, but he's better than Teddy Bridgewater. So I'm not ready to jump off a cliff about it.
And he's automatically going to get the Adam Gase, getting past Adam Gase boost. So
yeah, so
that should boost
DJ
all
Moore
of his
into
stats.
AJ Brown for all we
Right,
know.
exactly.
I do really like DJ Moore. I think he's incredibly talented. He can clearly catch the deep ball, but I think he works well underneath as well. So I love getting him here. And then the real question is, who am I going to take with the second pick at the turn? And I have to be honest, I'm not seeing a ton of value at running back right now. I don't really need a running back right now. So I'm probably not going to go that way. And I think I am going to fade tight end here. So I got to go wide receiver if that's the case, because I'm not huge on drafting QBs early. And so if I'm going to go wide receiver, then my next available wide receiver is wide receiver 14 currently in my rankings. And that is the one, the only, the aforementioned Hall of Famer, Julio Jones.
Boom!
Love it.
Dude, I really like that a lot. And to recap the third round, for those who are not currently viewing this and are listening to this after the fact, first pick of the third round, Calvin Ridley. Then it goes George Kittle, Keenan Allen, Michael Thomas, AJ Brown to Jay, Terry McLaurin to me. Then Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson, Chris Carson to Linda. Then David Montgomery, Miles Sanders. Those are some interesting names. Maybe we could circle back around to them at some point. Then, as Malcolm literally just got done saying, DJ Moore and Julio Jones. There it is. Boom. And yeah, after that, we see Chris Godwin go with the second pick of the fourth round. Then Josh Jacobs to the lateral bot. I mean, shout out the lateral bot. Always a wonderful contributor to this fine program. And now we're back again.
I have to say, lateral bot has proven exactly why I prefer to go running back before wide receiver, because I'd much rather have my running backs be Aaron Jones and Najee Harris than David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs. And I am comfortable with my wide receivers being DJ Moore and Julio Jones, as good as Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams are.
Yeah, and for as good as the lateral bot is at being our wonderful Twitter assistant and also co-producer of the podcast, who just does nothing but say really mean things to me all the time. This just goes to show, for as much shit as the lateral bot likes to talk, who sucks now? Lateral bot, David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs are your two running backs. Really? Haha! Yeah. Who's the idiot now? Lateral bot. Anyways, I don't know. I'm not going to get too deep into this. I have a lot of unresolved issues that I have to sort out with the lateral bot. Hey, Linda, it's your turn again. What are you going to do?
Man, I'm going to do this so I can talk about it, okay? Because I want to talk about it. We're going to talk about Adam Thielen for just a minute.
I was so ready for it to be a kicker.
No, they're not even on here. I couldn't pick one. I couldn't pick one if I wanted to.
Wait, this is no kickers? I did not agree to this.
I apologize.
But Adam Thielen, everybody, first of all, just the idea of fading a player because they scored too many touchdowns last season is insane. If that's your argument, pick a different fucking argument, because they didn't bring anybody in. He ran 100% routes, on the routes or whatever the hell it is. I live in Oklahoma. They don't teach us how to read. And I just think people are so hyper focused on if he regresses in touchdowns. He doesn't have to score 14 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson is going to draw the better coverage. Adam Thielen is Kirk Cousins' buddy. They've been playing together long enough that they have that connection. And I love Justin Jefferson, and I think he's going to do great. But I don't think that if Thielen doesn't get 5 of those 14 touchdowns, he's still going to end up on a 100+ target season, I think. So I'm not worried about it at all. I reached a little bit on him there so that I could talk about him, but I really reached on him in the Scott Fish Bowl, so it should feel pretty normal by now.
Well, Linda, as someone who also took him in Scott Fish Bowl and who is mildly tilted about the fact that they have Zeke and Tony Pollard just went in their Scott Fish Bowl draft, I have to say, I totally agree with you on Adam Thielen. And if here's a stat that gives people some comfort about Adam Thielen, in 2017, the red zone target leader for the Minnesota Vikings was Adam Thielen. In 2018, it was Adam Thielen. And in 2020, it was Adam Thielen. With basically around a 30% target share in the red zone. One outlier, of course, 2019, where it was Kyle Rudolph. But 2019 was a weird year.
Didn't Thielen didn't play like half the season because of a hamstring, didn't he?
Stephon Diggs only saw like 6 targets in the red zone. It was the whole thing. So 3 out of the past 4 years, though, Adam Thielen getting tons of work in the red zone, good completion percentage, and a nice target share there. I think he is a great value pick. I love it.
You love to see it, folks. You absolutely love to see it. And hey, Linda, even on your own team, you reunited Diggs and Thielen. So that's fun. That's fun, right?
That's going to be a locker room mess.
We love that. Well, good thing it's a fake locker room.
There we go. Well, I hope that the fake front office is willing to deal with whatever fake discipline may come their way. Hey, so, after you take Thielen, we see Cooper Kupp and CeeDee Lamb go off the board. Damn it. I really wanted CeeDee Lamb. But I'm going to go ahead and just make what I consider to be a safe pick because, by hook or by crook, Mike Evans, he's good. He's reliable. He'll have 1,000 receiving yards. It is what it is. It's probably not going to be the most gorgeous thing in the world. But, hey, year 2 with Brady and the Arians offense, I'm a big fan of it. I don't know. Don't really feel like there's a lot to break down. But, Jay, if you have any thoughts on that, go for it. But also, it's back up to you. So, take us through your pick. What's up? What's going on?
First off, I love the Mike Evans pick. He was one of 2 guys that I was ready to take with my next pick. Like you said, everybody continues to poo-poo on Mike Evans, but all he does is rack up 1,000-yard seasons. 7,000-yard seasons in a row? Like, I will gladly take that from my wide receiver too. On this Tampa Bay offense, he's one of the safest wide receivers with a high floor and a high ceiling. You're going to get wide receiver 2 numbers from him. I'll take any wide receiver on the Tom Brady offense to have a boom week as well. So I do like the Mike Evans pick. I was hoping that you would take him, though, because the guy that I really wanted was one Mr. Amari Cooper. I absolutely love Amari Cooper. He gets a lot of flack, and I don't understand. He used to be inconsistent when he was in Oakland, but since he's got to Dallas, got some stats on him here, he has been extremely consistent. Last year, he only had less than 10 points in 3 games, and only one of those games was when Dak Prescott was under center. And that's the game that Dak Prescott got hurt. He had 10 games over 15 points. He had over 1,100 yards last year, almost 100 catches, and 5 touchdowns with the likes of Andy Dalton, Ben DiNucci, and Garrett Gilbert throwing him the ball, or whatever the dude's name is. He is the 4th player in Cowboys history to catch at least 90 passes. Their defense is not going to be very good. Dak is going to be back under center. To get a guy like him as my wide receiver too, I am absolutely ecstatic. And to pair him with somebody who should still be consistent in A.J. Brown, I am loving how my team is shaping up so far.
100%, dude. I mean, I love the pick. I paired him with McLaurin in my Scott Fishbowl draft, and I absolutely adore it. Oh, dude, right? I know, dude. So good. Oh, speaking of things that are good, segue. Malcolm, you got some thoughts on some of these recent picks as we are coming to the end of the 4th round?
Yeah, I'm thinking about what an annoyance it is to be on the turn because I'm seeing a bunch of wide receivers I want on my team going off the board here, and it just further and further cements my happiness that I already got some running backs. Though I do like Zeke Elliott, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Myles Gaskin. Like, if you're going to punt a little on running back, I like that. Jordan with his first pick I don't like of the Patty Mahomes. I mean, it's solid value for Mahomes, but I can't do taking a quarterback that early. On the other hand, I have to say, seems like a lot of us don't do that. So Jordan zagging a little where the rest of us are zigging. I respect the choice. ETN in the 4th, I think, is too high. I am avoiding ETN unless he falls significantly. I do not trust that Jacksonville offense. I do not trust Urban Meyer. Like, if anyone is going to utilize Travis Etienne as a receiver, like, it will be Urban Meyer, a college coach that thinks he knows that thinks he is better than everyone else in the league. Like we've seen every college coach that's come into the league thing.
That should get you excited that he wants to use him at receiver, especially.
You know what?
Because
I want my running back to run the ball. And I don't know that Urban Meyer's going to know what he's doing using like a empty backfield 5 wide receiver set like half the time. Like I just don't know. And for me, there are other guys like Kareem Hunt I'd rather take than Travis Etienne because I know what I'm going to get from Kareem Hunt and it's potential top 10 running back material, especially if Nick Chubb goes down. And with Travis Etienne, I have no idea what I'm getting.
It seems like Linda's pretty fired up about this. I want to hear your take.
You can catch me passing on the entire Jacksonville offense this year, except for maybe like Marvin Jones super late as a dart throw.
Love me some Marvin Jones. Let's go.
I'm sorry. And I've had this conversation with Jay. I don't want Laviska. I don't understand it. I don't know what they're going to do with him. It sounds like they brought Etienne to come in to do kind of the thing that Laviska did. Part of the nice thing about him was that he was able to run the ball out of the backfield and catch a football and run underneath and run long and do all the stuff. And I think he's great, but I do not trust Urban Meyer. He's like in order of coaches I trust, it goes like Kyle Shanahan, John Gruden, Urban Meyer. I don't want him at all. I don't want him running a team. I don't think he does it for very long. So I'll just, and if I miss out on a great performance by Etienne and Laviska Shenault and all that, that's great. I'm glad somebody got it, but I don't like that big of a question mark in the coaching room. So I'll pass on most of that offense.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. You got to stand by. I said it.
I was on board until the besmirchment of shenanigans. My boy.
I love him, coach. But I'm not taking any running backs out of that backfield.
I get.
Okay, see? That's what I mean. I can't trust him.
Oh, I don't trust Urban Meyer as an NFL coach.
Oh, yeah. It's
Shanahan, I'm not sure I trust as a fantasy coach, but I don't trust Urban Meyer as an NFL coach.
Well, know who I do trust as a fantasy. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry. I stole your joke.
It's all
segue.
Good.
Come on. Kenny Galladay, make it happen. Put some people on tilt.
Do it.
I'm ready for it.
Do it.
As much as I love my Giants, I play fantasy with my head and not with my heart. And as much as I love Kenny Galladay, I don't trust the Giants offense for fantasy outside of Saquon Barkley. So I'm going with a guy who has a huge ceiling. Granted, his quarterback does scare me a little bit as well, but I'm going to go with John Chase Claypool. This dude is an absolute monster.
I had to take
This is hot.
No, I like Chase Claypool. I think he has the potential to be the wide receiver 1 in that offense. They love to use him in the red zone, as we saw last year. He can do it all. What do he have? He had 9 touchdowns last year in his rookie season.
4 of them were in one game.
I know. They still count, right?
Hey,
they do, but are you going to count on that happening? Chase Claypool could be the wide receiver 3 on this offense.
That's not going to happen. No way, no how. He's going to be at least the wide receiver 2.
They utilize Juju in a particular way. Like Herms, I want you to come in on this after. But the way they utilize Juju, he will be kind of almost by default the wide receiver 2 because of his specific role. It's not necessarily a talent thing.
Linda put her hand up. You go ahead.
That's
say
only
your
so
thing.
I remember what I'm going to say. I don't do that. It's just if I don't do it. Are you not worried about that offensive line and Big Ben being ancient? He's going to have 0.5 seconds to throw the ball. That's concerning to me for every wide receiver in Pittsburgh.
No, I definitely I give you that as well. But I think having
you a Mason Rudolph fan?
No.
Nobody is.
Do those exist? I was going to say, do those people actually exist?
Herms was one for a brief second when they drafted him, and I will never let him live it down.
You got to be. Yeah, you got to be.
Gee, okay, so I have about 3.5 minutes until the clock expires, and I have to make my pick. Can I go through the whole Steelers spiel in this time? Yes, I believe I can. So here we go. Here's what it comes down to. I've talked about this on other live shows and podcasts and whatnot, so I'm going to try and condense it as best as I possibly can. First, we will address the offensive line. Is the offensive line nearly as bad as people say it is? No, honestly, I believe it is not. Alejandro Villanueva, David DeCastro, they have just they sucked ass over the last couple of years. It is what it is. Yes, them leaving, it's alarming to people because it's these are names of players that we remember. Pro Bowlers, all pros, all this stuff. Yes, for sure. But, say what you will about PFF, but their performance grades are very reliable. I think it's worth taking with. It's worth taking to heart. And also, just anecdotally speaking, with my own eyeballs as a Steelers fan, I can tell you it's been bad. The play of the offensive line had been deteriorating for a long time. They had to move on. They had to address that, and they brought in new blood. Kendrick Green out of Illinois in the 3rd round of the draft this year. The only reason he fell that far is because he split time between center and guard and never truly established an official position, quote unquote. But per PFF, he was the 7th best run blocker coming out of the class. So we have that. We also have Zach Banner coming back after missing a significant amount of last year with injury. I think he's an incredibly talented offensive lineman. Also, not to mention, we replaced DeCastro with, former Pro Bowler Trey Turner. Now, yes, he has had similar issues with his own stuff, injury, whatnot. But all of that to say, is the offensive line good? No. But is it nearly as bad as people say it is? No. It's completely overblown. I feel like a lot of people are just reacting to the fact that, not a lot of offensive linemen have marquee names, but it just so happens that, some of the Steelers guys were better known players, and that's the reason why, the reaction was what it was. But seriously, I have all the faith in the world that the offensive line will be okay. Not good, but okay. It'll be okay. And then as far as the wide receivers go, I've been huge on, dishing out my takes and whatnot and all this, but I've said this a couple of times recently, and I will say for the first time here on the Lateral, I dug more into Matt Canada's system and really have tried to understand the types of things that they're going to do. And based off of his scheme, because a lot of his whole thing is just disguising things and trickery and blah, blah, blah and whatnot, playing off the play action a lot, doing a lot of end arounds to keep the defense guessing. There's a decent chance that if they run Matt Canada's system from week 1 on and don't do the slow burn transition into it, that Chase Claypool will be the best receiver in the Steelers offense. But if it is a slow burn transitioning from the old guard to the new guard, then I would still probably prefer Deontay Johnson. But either way, both of those guys are fabulous.
You have 30 seconds.
Yes, I know.
Stressing me out.
Yes, but yeah, so that's the thing. Those are the things that I feel about it. And I don't know. At this point, regardless of what happens, I think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be
Please get auto-drafted Josh Allen here.
No, I'm not going to do it. I am prepared, and I am going to transition into me talking about actually, no, okay, to put a cap on the Steelers wide receiver thing. Yes, if Matt Canada's offense is what it is from week 1 and they don't just do the whole long play transitioning, I mean, he will be a fabulous pick there. I absolutely love it. Anyways, I took Javonte Williams, damn it. And you know why? Because I'm just, I don't know.
He was the best running back left.
Well, not only that, but also because, and a lot has been made about the split with Melvin Gordon. What's that going to be like? I don't really know. But the way that I project this going out, we talked about this in our running back episode, Malcolm, it's the changing of the guard when it comes to, especially aging veteran running back on an expiring contract. And then you draft a guy within the first 2 rounds or whatever. It's just by week 6 at the earliest or week 9 at the latest, I have secured a fabulous running back for my team. The only thing that makes it tricky is just because of my team build. He's my RB2. I'm going to have to supplement value somewhere else a little bit later to, make sure that, I don't know. It will be a little bit of a waiting period, but I feel pretty confident about that. I don't know. Javonte Williams is good, but I don't know. Linda, you're the Broncos fan. How do you feel about my Javonte Williams pick? Do you think that was a good call or was that too soon?
We're at a point in the draft where I will fade running back hard because they are guys that are going to be in split backfields and you have to make a decision about the two. That being said, I'm pretty out on Melvin Gordon. Everybody's like, well, he's all right. Nobody's ever he's great. It's just yeah, which is not a thing you want to say about your team's starting running back. Javonte Williams was my RB2 before the draft. I think his skill set is great. I think he helps the Broncos offense a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if he is the RB1 in Denver right out of the gate. That being said, just because of the way the NFL works, it may be a couple weeks, but I really, really wouldn't be surprised if he was the early down go-getter right out of the gate. So that's what I'm hoping for. Melvin Gordon has a fumbling problem. I don't care what anybody says. And you know, he tries to like be fancy. He wants to like look cool while he does it. And that's not the kind of running back I want. I want you to put your fucking head down and run. That's it. That's all I'm asking. And I think Javonte Williams is an excellent example of that kind of running back. And I think he'll do really well in Denver. So I like that pick just fine. It's just this area of running backs always gives me pause. So I don't usually tackle them.
I dig the vibe. It's usually best to try to avoid tackling NFL running backs, especially, just us being who we are, because we're not exactly the greatest athletes in the world compared to these guys. But I know you meant that figuratively, but I turned it into a literal joke because I don't know. Anyways, hey, it's up to your pick. What are you thinking about here, Linda?
Oh, man. So I'm going to go wide receiver. I'll probably hammer wide receiver for a while. And with this pick, it's a no-brainer for me going Courtland Sutton. He's going to have wide receiver 1 week. He's going to have some high-end wide receiver 2 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes a top 12 wide receiver. I know people are worried about his quarterback play. I'm not. So I'm not worried about Jerry Jeudy becoming the wide receiver 1 in that offense. I think Courtland Sutton's pretty much proved that he can be that guy. We saw Tim Patrick step into that Courtland Sutton role last year and do really well. And he's a great wide receiver, but he's not Courtland Sutton. So everything from camp has been that he's recovering really well. And it's been a very high point of optimism for the Broncos offense all offseason. So I'm all in on Courtland Sutton. He's so cheap right now that I will take him every time if he falls to me.
You'll love to see it, folks. You'll love to see it. And Malcolm, before I hand it on over to you, I want to shout out the fact that the Lateral bot went ahead and took Kyle Pitts with their fifth round pick. So shout out the Lateral bot taking that stab there. So I guess to do a little bit of
Hall of Famer Kyle Pitts. Don't forget.
Oh yes, of course, yes.
And let's be clear at this point, future Hall of Famer. Julio Jones could retire today and be a Hall of Famer. Kyle Pitts has not hit that point yet.
Well,
they actually have his
I was being like satirical, right? Like I'm not drafting Kyle Pitts in redraft.
As am I.
I was being satirical. I didn't mean I don't really think he's a Hall of Famer.
But when he was walking across the stage at the draft, didn't Goodell hand him the gold jacket? Wasn't that? Did I imagine that?
No, they took a picture with his bust that said it to
I am not being satirical. Like Kyle Pitts, I would put future Hall of Famer label on it without much hesitation. I have not heard a single athlete in any sport be compared to LeBron James more than Kyle Pitts. And to me, that is just
Kyle Pitts does not play basketball.
And LeBron James did not play football, and yet he got a contract offer from the Dallas Cowboys.
So does that mean that Kyle Pitts is going to flop? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, but I mean, we have seen guys who played basketball excel at the tight end position specifically, like Antonio Gates.
And
really,
also
Mo Alley Cox first.
Shout out VCU, but in defense of LeBron James, he was All-State as a wide receiver in the state of Ohio during his time in high school. So I'll give him that. But
at a certain point, you're just super athletic, and Kyle Pitts is just super athletic. Still, this is probably a little rich for my blood. I'm glad that the Lateral bot took it though, because it allows me to do this and to do this. That's right, baby. You talk about hammering wide receiver. I am going to bring the hammer completely down on wide receiver. Give me Jamar Chase. Give me Brandon Ayuk. Give me two guys with that like wide receiver 16 potential. Like Brandon Ayuk absolutely killed it last year. Dude was literally hurdling people. He's the clear wide receiver 1 in San Francisco. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Like, yes, George Kittle likely to get his share, might be the top targeted receiver, but the number 1 target at wide receiver will be Brandon Ayuk. It will not be Deebo Samuel, regardless of who is quarterback. They got that guy for a reason. They traded up to get that guy for a reason. He is absolutely that dude there. And then Jamar Chase, you want to talk about like going and getting your guy, literally recruited by Joe Burrow. He's like, I went down with an ACL injury because my O-line sucked. It'd be really good if we got a generational O-line guy in Penny Sewell to come and protect me. Or I could get my boy, Jamar Chase, and be another talented wide receiver in this amazingly talented wide receiver room. Like, they brought him in for a reason. I have zero concerns about him. And I certainly have no concerns about him where he's essentially going to be my wide receiver 3 or my wide receiver 4, my flex guy. Like, absolutely love him here. Ton of ceiling.
I want to put a pin in the Jamar Chase conversation because I think that the Bengals wide receiver discussion is something that we will have at a certain point as this draft unfolds. So before I kick it back over to Linda to recap the 5th round of our draft, actually, well, some highlights from the end of the 4th round that I don't think we addressed. So I mean, after I took Evans and Jay took Pitts. The end of the 4th round went Robert Woods, Myles Gaskin, Travis Etienne, which we covered. Then Jordan, the homie, shout out at Jordan Vanek. Pat Mahomes, Tyler Lockett to start round 5. And then after that, Kareem Hunt, Deontay Johnson, Lamar Jackson, Chase Claypool, Javonte Williams. We talked about that. Then we saw Mike Davis, Kenny Galladay, Courtland Sutton. We talked about that. Kyle Pitts, talked about that. Odell Beckham. And then that brought us into Malcolm's picks, all that. And then we saw back-to-back quarterbacks after you took your wide receivers. We saw Josh Allen, 602, and then Kyler Murray to the lateral bot at 603. That's this is probably around the time where I would start considering taking quarterbacks at the earliest, in my opinion. But I don't know. There's different thought processes on that. So, Linda, make your pick. Talk through your pick, and then give me your opinion on where you like to take quarterback and redraft at the earliest.
Oh man, it just depends. Like right now, I would normally not be targeting quarterback because like in I think if there wasn't a bot there, Kyler Murray wouldn't have gone. It wouldn't feel like there was like a run on quarterbacks. But now I'm like, was there a run on quarterbacks, and do I take a quarterback, or is that just the draft board screwing with me?
The lateral bot is sneaky. I'll tell you what.
I know that bastard. So I'm gonna go ahead and take. We're gonna do another Cincinnati wide receiver in T. Higgins.
Linda, you sniped me. That was
well.
He's in my queue. Good pick. I love it.
I think that aside from Joe Mixon, I think the pass catching offense is going to do just fine. I am worried about that offensive line. Bengals fans talk about, well, they addressed it. No, they didn't. They brought in a guy who hasn't played a full season since 2015 and drafted a guy who just had back surgery, and they're going to make him move to the opposite side of the line. So that's not really addressing it, in my opinion. But I do think Joe Burrow will have his fair share of passing attempts. So I think everybody in that offense can eat, and I'm fine with T. Higgins being my wide receiver 4 in a league where I only have to start 3.
Yeah, and Jay, seems like you had some strong feelings about T. Higgins. Why do you feel that you have been attacked personally at the selection of T. Higgins not falling back to you?
I am very upset, but I'm not surprised because Linda knows what she's doing. I think that is an absolute steal for, T. Higgins was having a fantastic season last year before Joe Burrow went down. And in today's NFL, it's very easy for 2 wide receivers to be fantasy relevant, especially in an offense like this, that their defense is not good. They want to throw the ball. I would love to have Joe Burrow anywhere I can, but I will happily take Higgins, Chase, and Tyler Boyd has been a value in a lot of drafts as well. He seems to be the forgotten guy, but he's going to be involved as well. I will gladly take any part of this offense. The offensive line is a concern, but I do. T. Higgins is somebody, especially as a wide receiver 4, that is an absolute steal. Somebody with a ton of upside, should get a ton of targets for a safe floor. I absolutely love that pick.
Yeah, and it seems that it has taken us into the conversation I had said we were gonna have earlier. I know that Malcolm and I have had our disagreements as to who we feel is the wide receiver 1 for Cincinnati, so I will defer to Jay, you first, and then Linda, to you before we get into our takes. If you had to pick, gun to your head, T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, who are you taking?
In a fantasy aspect or a real football aspect?
We're just talking fantasy football here.
Okay, sure.
No, okay. We'll
do either or. If you want to give both,
Sure.
Just as long as it's quickish.
Okay, so I would say from a NFL perspective, I would say T. Higgins simply because it does take wide receivers some time to get adjusted to the NFL. You know, we get spoiled when we see guys like Justin Jefferson last year and Odell Beckham and Mike Evans in their rookie years and stuff like that. However, when it comes to fantasy, give me Jamar Chase because I think he's got the higher ceiling. I think Jamar Chase can, although it's unlikely, can have a Justin Jefferson type season.
I dig
Cool.
it. Linda, what are your thoughts?
I feel like T. Higgins falls later, and in an offense that I think is going to be that pass heavy and where there's going to be several wide receivers that can eat, I don't mind taking the later one. I don't mind Smiley or Smoyd, who hasn't gone yet. So, but I like T. Higgins there with that fall and where he was at. So.
I dig it, but it really comes down to, for me, if I'm picking between the two of them, I love the connection that Burrow and Chase had at LSU 2 years ago, but that was also 2 years ago. Jamar Chase hasn't played football in over a year at this point, and Higgins has been in the league. He has adjusted to the professional level, and do I think we will see at the end of the season Jamar Chase being the wide receiver one in that offense? Yes, absolutely. I think I do. But like, the learning curve is something to the point where just I would prefer taking T. Higgins, somebody who has already played with Joe Burrow more recently and is already acclimated to the system. But I know this has been a point of contention between me and Malcolm. So while I solidify what I'm going to do with my pick here, give that sales pitch one more time there, Malcolm.
Okay, so first things first, the guy was Joe Burrow's go-to target at LSU. 2, to the point which he got the Cincinnati Bengals to spend a top 5 draft pick on the guy when they had needs at another position. 3, Joe Burrow goes down in week 10. At week 10, Tyler Boyd was wide receiver 13 in PPR. T. Higgins was wide receiver 23 in PPR. Everyone likes to make T. Higgins having this like amazing time with Joe Burrow under center. He was the clear wide receiver 2 in terms of fantasy at that point. So like maybe the guy we're all sleeping on is Tyler Boyd. That's a whole different thing. And then the other thing is AJ Green got plenty of work. He just didn't do anything with it. Yeah. Theoretically, those targets have to go somewhere if they're going to be running a similar offense with similar shortcomings. Like vacated targets is a bit of a myth, but like, you know, this is a team that could throw 40 passing attempts per game. Honestly, easily. Like, there is no reason they can't do it. They were pretty close to it last year. And I think Joe Burrow is going to just look at the guy that he literally recruited to be on this team. He didn't recruit T. Higgins. He didn't recruit Tyler Boyd. He recruited Jamar Chase, and they used a number 5 draft pick on him. Like, that's just
you know how you can tell that he was athletic and not like super good in school is because he picked a wide receiver over offensive lineman.
Yeah. But you know what? He's going to throw to that wide receiver, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, yes, time. I'm just kidding.
I'm
just kidding.
We got a shout out for Linda. Shout out the homie Steffi as well. But yeah, so I mean, those are the cases for both of those wide receivers. Take your pick, do your thing. I think we outlined that pretty well. Yeah, so there's that. And then, so after T. Higgins was selected, we saw T.J. Hockenson, Jerry Jeudy, and then I took Ronald Jones. I feel like I don't need to say anything because if you follow me on Twitter,
are you a fan of Ronald Jones by any chance, James? I'm not aware.
I think he's okay. You know, I don't. You know, do I have like a hard concrete stance? Not necessarily. No, I wouldn't characterize it that way. But you know, I would say that if you were going to pick a player to besmirch the name of, I would probably not pick Rojo. Just do not besmirch the name of Rojo. That's all that's all it is. You know, because I mean, hey, you know, something that has been pointed out is like between Malcolm and I, we both have Najee Harris and Ronald Jones on our.
They're the only two guys that we both have, I believe, in Scott Fishbowl, and we both have them.
I am actually on the clock in Scott Fishbowl, and I'm not sure where
I was just on the clock.
There we go.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of being
running back,
and I'm on the clock here, and I've got 2 minutes.
Yes, there you go. Shout out. Now I have to. So you go through your pick while I make sure I'm not on the clock in Scott Fishbowl.
I have it pulled up in a window. I'm not on the clock.
Let's see.
I am
Also-
getting sniped left and right though, which has been super fun.
Although, shout out in the comments, Joey. I would love to say things about Ronald Jones, but we don't have the extra 2 hours to tack on to this runtime, so I can't.
I do have a
can't.
recent article though at thelateralff.com where I talk about Ronald Jones a bit and the 192 rushing attempts he got last year, and the fact that even when he was behind Fournette due to having been on the COVID list, he still saw 10 plus rushing attempts every single game. So yeah, maybe go read that.
And that's why you always have to check out www.thelateralff.com. Follow us on Twitter at thelateralff. Follow McLateral at McLateralFF. Follow your boy at Herms NFL. And, just more stalling for the sake of, helping our guests out. At GMenJ for the homie Jay, and at Lindellions for the homie Linda.
I think I've got my pick. I think I'm ready here.
Here we go.
This one hurts from a real football perspective because I thought the Giants were going to wind up drafting this guy, and they did us dirty and did a deal with the devil with the Cowboys and traded up to get him. Go with Devonta Smith.
Ooh.
I am very happy to get him as my wide receiver 4. He's going to get targeted. Philadelphia finally has a true alpha in Devonta Smith. I don't buy the whole BMI thing, and he's too skinny to be able to be a top wide receiver. You know who else is pretty skinny? Some guy named Julio Jones, and he turned out pretty good. So I'm not too worried about all of that. Give me the guy who's going to get the targets on a team that's got a bad defense. They're going to be playing a lot of catch up, and it's a terrible, the offensive line is going to be better. They were bad last year, but they were banged up. And I'm a believer in Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to be, especially in fantasy. I think they're going to run this offense through Jalen Hurts, through Devonta Smith. Guy like that is my wide receiver 4. I'll take it all day.
Yeah, and this is actually a discussion that Malcolm and I were having earlier in the day. Just because Scott Fishbowl is on a lot of people's minds. The target share that I feel like he can command in that Philly offense is just like, because for a long time it has always been the whole you got to wait 3 years, like the third year wide receiver breakout. That was always the thing, right? Well, recent history has shown rookies can come in right away and make serious impacts. We've seen it a lot, and I think for as much, I'm not trying to rehash the Jamar Chase conversation too much, but in terms of the high-end rookie wide receivers coming into the league this year, Devonta Smith is walking into an incredible opportunity to see. Okay, so Jay, if I told you right now Devonta Smith sees 130 targets, am I insane for saying that?
I could definitely see it happening, especially as bad as Philadelphia's defense is.
Yeah, Malcolm, you got any perspectives on that? Because the opportunity's there.
Who else are they going to throw the ball to? It's like him and Dallas Goedert.
Jalen
Rieger is he was. I'm not surprised that he didn't succeed in his rookie year, regardless of all the reasons why most people wouldn't have succeeded in that offense. And JJ Arcega-Whiteside, is he still on the team?
He's there, yeah. But in spirit.
It's Devonta Smith is the clear wide receiver 1. He's got a connection with the quarterback. I love the opportunity for him. I really do.
I think it could be absolutely tremendous. At any rate, rounding out the end of this round that we have, that is the 6th. After Devonta Smith is taken, we see James Robinson, followed by Mark Andrews. And Malcolm, your QB1, Dak Prescott.
Yeah, that's a real brutal one, too. I had Andrews and Prescott hoping against hope in my queue because I actually do prefer Andrews to Hawkinson at tight end.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that. I like that call as well. I have him above of Hawkinson as well. And but yeah, to end the 6th round, we see Curtis Samuel circling back around to the first pick of the 7th round. Our friend Jordan, who we have shouted out before, with a running back on your favorite team. If I remember correctly, based off of how the draft has gone, I am correct. The first San Francisco 49ers running back off the board.
Probably should be at this point.
Yeah, so why don't you give us a little insight into the Trey Sermon pick so we can have, Jay figure out what he's going to do here with his next pick. Because, like, honestly, like, you're the Niners fan in the building. I want to hear what you have to say about this.
So here's the thing. Like, the Niners love to use efficient, effective running backs. And what that means is they like guys who can get good yards per carry, find a hole, have a burst of speed, et cetera, et cetera. And they have no problem with playing the hot hand, though I do think Shanahan actually likes to rely on a guy if that guy can continue to prove it. I think, like Mostert, when healthy, we saw him doing that. You know, he did continue to rely on it. Not so much. So here's the thing. Sermon, they did trade up a little to get. They got him in the 3rd round. He's got some draft capital behind him because of that. Raheem Mostert is a weird one because he is a potential cut candidate. He is older. He is, at this point, maybe not injury prone, but injury riddled. And he would represent about a $3 million savings, I think, which is like kind of exactly what they might need to save. So there is some concern there, especially because honestly, at this point, Wayne Gallman might be just as good as Raheem Mostert, or pretty close, and cost way less. And I think people need to not forget that Wayne Gallman is on that team. That being said, I think the most likely guy to take over the backfield is Trey Sermon. My biggest concern with Sermon is that I think you're going to have to overpay a little to get him. And I don't know that you're going to see the return on that investment right away, nor will you necessarily see it regularly. So, like, for me, I'd much rather take Wayne Gallman way later than take Trey Sermon in the 7th.
Hey, fair enough.
Hey, Herms, you ready for this? Are you ready?
Yeah. Oh, real quick. After Trey Sermon, we see Chase Edmonds, Jalen Hurts. Woo! Shout out.
That one hurt.
I got him pretty high in my rankings. Yeah. I mean, the rushing floor, tremendous. And then Will Fuller, right before we get to Jay, but it seems like you've got something in store for us. So I really want to hear what this is.
I think you're ready for this one.
Oh!
There he is,
yes!
my man.
Oh, baby. Oh, please. Oh, sing the sweet, sweet praises of one Laviska Shenault for everyone. Oh,
he's a very polarizing player. You know, the Laviska truthers, which I am one of them, sing the song of his people very, very loudly. We all love Laviska Shenault. If you don't like him, then you're pretty much think I'm an absolute loon for taking him here. Yeah, yeah, I do want to forget Wayne Gallman. Let's not talk about that last year.
Yes.
But Wayne Gallman was very, very productive. But
I was going to say he was incredibly effective every time you guys needed him to do anything.
No, not Wayne Gallman. Just the season was bad last year. That's
sure, but that's because your team's a mess.
Yeah. But for the sake of the podcast, homies, the comment was from Calvin. You've seen him in previous editions of Lateral live streams. So Jay looks like
I will be on with him tomorrow night, talking with him, Steffi Smalls, and Tyler Karp, talking the Giants tomorrow night. So keep an eye out for that.
Oh, dear God. Okay, so by the time that you're listening to this as a podcast or whatever, because like we publish these around noon every day. So tonight, if you're listening to this as a podcast, tonight, Dynasty Vipers, shout out. What is up?
It's on DLF, but.
Oh, it's on DLF. Oh my God.
Steffi, I hate to tell you, as long as Dave Gettleman's your general manager, you're always a little bit of a mess.
Oh gosh. Anyway, sorry to derail the Laviska conversation. Please continue singing the praises of our Lord and Savior.
Well, he could play all over the field. He could play in the slot. He could play outside. They put him in the backfield. He's a physical specimen, man. The only thing that does concern me with him is his ability to stay healthy. He had issues with it in college. He did get banged up last year, but taking him here now, and one thing I do want to be clear about being a Laviska truther, I'm not going to reach for him. There's one thing about loving a guy. There's one thing about reaching for a player. I'm not going to reach for him. Some may think this is a reach. I think this is a good spot for him. I'm getting him as my 5th wide receiver where I'm still going to get that upside. Guys that are still here, Juju's out there, but I already have Claypool. You've got Waddle, you got Brandon Cooks, who's got question marks. So all the guys in this area all have question marks. I obviously love Laviska Shenault. I think he's already it's going to be a 1A, a 1B situation when it comes to the wide receivers in Jacksonville. I think the addition, while I do like Marvin Jones a lot, I would, if I didn't have Viska, I think he is a fantastic late round target. I think Marvin Jones' game hurts Chark more than it does LaVisca. They both they're both down the field threats. So I think they're going to eat into each other's production more. And I think that signing hurts Chark more than it does LaVisca. So here, I think is a perfect spot to take him. I think he's especially with, Trevor Lawrence under center now versus, all the bums that they threw out last year, which Minshew is not a bum, but, everybody else. Minshew's that he is now that he shaved that mullet. I'm very upset that Minshew got rid of he looked like he was about to drop the hottest country album in 1996 when he was rocking that thing.
Right?
But,
man. He lost his superpowers. He truly did. That definitely, I took that very personally, probably more personally than I should have, but I don't know. So I had my pick. It goes back to a conversation we had before. My running back room a little dicey, so I took Raheem Mostert just so I can get the juice out of the fruit while he's still healthy. But Linda, after I took Raheem Mostert, you seemed to have a very, very emotional experience that you have the open space to talk through and talk about. So please share your feelings about what has happened.
I thought Justin Herbert was going to make it back to me.
Oh no,
he did not.
Oh,
I know I said this. I think maybe I said it before we went live. I don't know, but I truly believe that Justin Herbert has the potential to finish as the QB1. I don't think it's that big of a stretch to imagine a scenario where he does that, and he's not being bought at that price yet. So I really like where he's going in drafts, even in one QBs like this, where like usually halfway through the season of my one QB redrafts, I'm streaming QB every week. But if you can get a guy that's going to have that solid of a start at a discount, where like next year, I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, people are dethroning Pat Mahomes for these guys. I know Pat Mahomes is the overall QB1. We love to talk about it. It's our favorite thing to talk about. But he hasn't finished QB1. Yes, he has a lot of QB1 weeks, but that's not – there are other guys that I think next year we could finally see some people taking up the debate that there is somebody else that has the overall QB1 position. So I like getting those guys a year ahead of time before they're going at that price. And I think, what is he, QB6, 7 here?
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't do math fast. You're getting a guy at his floor, in my opinion. So that fucking sucks.
Yeah. And, I think an underrated component of, something I was talking about, way earlier on in the program when I took Austin Eckler is the fact that, like, the Chargers offensive line was some ass cheeks last year, but they went out and they acquired quite a few people, because bringing in, because Rashawn Slater, right? And then
Steffi talked about it in the chat.
Oh yeah, just Slater, and then just a bunch of
love her.
Oh, love her to death too. Just shout out the homie Steffi. But like between Slater and then so I'm gonna need some reinforcements as far as names go. Who's that center? What's the
Lindsley?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Lindsley coming in, and then my dude, Filer coming in, over from the Steelers. Like, hey, that offensive line to the moon. I mean, like compared to what it was last year, especially like hella upgrades. I'm absolutely here for it. But geez, yeah. So there's the songs of praise for Justin Herbert. Then Michael Carter goes, and then we find ourselves back at Linda's pick. What is up? Please tell me what is on your mind.
This is the part of the draft where I start completely ignoring ADP. I don't care if I wait on a guy, he might fall to me. I'm going to take the guy that I see the most upside with. And in that case right now is Mr. Darnell Mooney, who I think will be the second target on that offense. All he did was get open last season and be overthrown or underthrown or just completely off target. So if depending on when Justin Fields takes over, I really like Darnell Mooney. And as my wide receiver 5, if Justin Fields doesn't start right away, it gives him some time to rest on my bench until that happens. So I'm all in on Mooney for 2021.
I think that I can speak for Malcolm here as well when I say Darnell to the Mooney is somebody. I mean, we absolutely adore Darnell Mooney. Just
I do love me
100%.
some Darnell Mooney. I also love that this guy has fallen so far to me, and that is Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson. With all his wonderful value he adds with his legs, his elite offensive weapons that he has available to him, the fact that maybe they'll let him cook, and even if they don't let him cook, he still produces. I don't necessarily reach this high for a quarterback, but it's only a 12-round draft, and I got to take one somewhere. And so I decided to get a value pick in Wilson here rather than waiting until the 12th round and taking Kirk Cousins, which is, perhaps what I would do instead. I really like Russell Wilson. I think that the new offensive coordinator, it's going to be really telling what he wants to do. And in theory, despite the fact that after the offseason ended, Pete Carroll talked about wanting to run the ball more, they got a guy who's going to pass more. So maybe they'll finally let Russ cook. And again, regardless, the guy still adds a ton of value with his legs. He had more, I think it's in the projections, he has as many rushing attempts projected as Deshaun Watson, which just, provides such a nice floor. Sleeper projections, so, take it with a grain of salt. But still, I love the value there. Now, for my second pick, I don't love the value as much elsewhere. But I have to think about who do I want to take, considering that I'm not going to get to pick again for quite some time. And I just do not know what the answer is.
I think you can do it, though. I really do. I believe in you. We've been doing this together long enough to the point where I have full faith and confidence in your abilities to make sure that this is a fabulous, fabulous pick that you have at the tip of your fingers.
Yeah. So so I'm not going to take this guy, but if I was to take a tight end here, I would take Dallas Goedert. I'm still going to wait. I think I really do.
You can do it, buddy. I know you can.
You know what? I'm gonna shore up the running back depth just a little. Don't have anyone on the bench right now. I'm gonna take a guy that produced pretty well when he was healthy last season. They might not have a ton of pass. They might have to go with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback or Davis Mills at quarterback. In theory, David Johnson should still be the starter in Houston. I'm just going to take him here. It seems like a decent pick. And I didn't love a ton of the options available to me, but I felt like I could still get value at wide receiver later on, so I decided to wait on that.
Yeah, and for as many cooks as there are in the proverbial kitchen there in Houston as far as the running backs go, I mean, it's probably the guy that you're going to want the most just based off of what we saw from him last year, to your point. I mean, he performed at RB1 levels, slightly more often than not. I mean, there were certain, injury woes that, derailed him a little bit, but, oh gosh, if Deshaun Watson's not playing quarterback, they're going to have to rely on somebody in the run game. And, David Johnson's the best bet. We already know who he is. He's established. It is what it is. But yeah, so I definitely, I love that pick for you.
It really comes down to guys like Fournette, Connor, Drake, Moss, Damian Harris, AJ Dillon. These are all people we know are going to have another cook in the kitchen. David Johnson, there is a theoretical possibility where he won't, and that they just signed all those running backs for safety. They didn't pay him a ton. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, hey, why not? Because plus, let's be real here. Even if Deshaun Watson was playing, what's really the future of that franchise anyway? They're terrible. They're probably
worst team in the league, easily.
It's pretty awful. Speaking of things that are not the worst, there you go.
Ooh, I was like, where's he going with this? Speaking of worst teams in the league.
Because I had to throw out the bait a little bit, and hey, but you got to turn it around to a compliment at the very end. That's how things work. I guess I don't know.
You were real close to me coming unhinged before you got to the nice part. Okay, geez. So I am again gonna do something that's maybe a little bit reachy, but in my opinion feels fine, and take my RB2 in Nyheim Hines, who in PPR leagues I absolutely love. I know people are balls deep on Jonathan Taylor. I think that's great. He had some great games. He showed he can do well, but I think Frank Reich will continue to use some kind of committee backfield. and Naheem Hines is a pass catching monster. So as my RB2, I love that.
Yeah, no, and I think that one of the things that is slightly overlooked as far as the Indianapolis Colts go is the fact that Frank Reich for a long time has really enjoyed that irritating running back by committee, because just when you think it's going to be the one dude that's going to get all the work to himself, there's always going to be somebody coming in there, spelling whoever that guy is that we think it is, and they're going to produce. So, I mean, the presence of Naheem Hines is really the reason that, well, among the couple reasons I would say, that I'm a little lower on Jonathan Taylor than, consensus. But hey, I feel like we've all seen what Naheem Hines could do in the past prior to this last season, just in little bursts and flashes and whatnot. He really seemed to put it together last year. And, I think, and maybe that had to do with the fact that, having the check down master of Phillip Rivers as his quarterback. Sure. Entirely possible. That could be the big thing. But hey, I don't know. I think that there's a decent chance we could see some of that work carry over with Carson Wentz at quarterback now. And then after Naheem Hines, we saw Damian Harris. That's an interesting name. I feel like a lot of people have some weird mixed opinions on Damian Harris. Jay, do you have any thoughts that you would like to share on Damian Harris?
I am not a fan of draft. It's the old adage, don't draft the New England running backs. I still feel that way. I wouldn't mind taking a shot on basically whoever's going to be the cheapest. So right now it looks like it's Sony Michel, especially if Cam Newton's under center. He's going to get the goal line work. He's going to get a ton of rushing. So for me, I'm not touching any of the New England running backs unless it's super late. I do like Damian Harris. He played well when he got the opportunity last year, but like I said, Michel's there, Cam Newton's there. Who knows when if Mac Jones gets under center this year. So for me, I'm most likely going to pass on all the New England running backs.
Damian Harris with a total of 5 receptions in the last 2 years, and people love him, and I cannot figure it out.
5 yards per carry. It's pretty much why.
That's great, but when
he honestly, there is a pathway to 200 rushing attempts for him. It's not like the likeliest pathway. It's probably his ceiling, but he hit, I think, over 160 last year, while Sony Michel was technically the established RB1 in that backfield to start the season. So if Belichick really likes him, it's not impossible. I would say that the biggest issue with Damian Harris, while yes, the receptions are a huge issue, especially in PPR, is Jay touched on this. And I think you guys have both hit on the downfalls to Damian Harris. Cam Newton is going to be the goal line rusher. And if that is the case,
Mac Jones takes over.
Yeah. So, if Mac Jones takes over, then that increases Damian Harris's standing, in my opinion. So could be a good pick there. But yeah, I think that's really why. I think people see him as an efficient runner in a system where he'll definitely get to run. But I think the criticisms that both you guys have brought up are incredibly valid.
Yeah, and he's somebody that I felt comfortable enough taking as my 4th running back in Scott Fishbowl, just because of the whole that little first down bonus that you get. But I mean, honestly, in a more traditional scoring league, I understand the skepticism around it, but yeah, I don't know. Things are very tricky. Speaking of things that are tricky, with me and my horrible segue skills, we're getting a little long in the tooth with this one. So if there's a way for me to figure out how to speed up the clock, I will do my best to do that, because I know, I thought that, doing the 12 rounds with the timer being this way would be good, but we're already at over an hour and a half. Oh my gosh. Oh geez, this is just, oh my God. Because I know that people have things to do, families to see, people to take care of. Oh gosh, so tricky. So all right, well, we got Z2 Fantasy on the clock. We'll see what happens with him. If he
might be on auto.
Yeah, he might end up being on auto, and then at which point I'll just pause the draft, speed it up to whatever. And honestly, if I can't finish that or whatever, maybe we could halt the broadcast or something, finish up the mock draft on our own time, and then give you the results at the end of it. But I don't know, on the fly, what's what
You
what are
should be
feeling
able
here?
to. You should be able to pause it and go in and change it to 30 seconds.
All right, cool. There it is. Yeah.
I'll
So,
help
hey,
you.
oh, thank you so much. Oh, 3, 2, 1.
Happy New Year. Oh, sorry.
Oh!
Yeah, I thought it was-
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Auto pick Kenyon Drake. That's a fun one.
Go
There
there.
we
Go
go.
pause.
Don't end the draft.
Oh no, I won't. Oh no, it's too good. Okay, here we go. The
10
clock-
seconds. No, I'm just
There
fucking-
you go. No, Jesus, I can't read that
I'm
fast.
game. Let's go.
All right, here we go. We're going down to 30 seconds. This
Perfect.
draft is getting long in the tooth, and therefore this episode is getting long in the tooth. So here it is. All I got to do is hit resume. There it is. Okay,
Go.
back to me. I got 30 seconds to make a decision. What am I going to do? Okay, so my running back room is like a little weird, but I got to look at the board. Oh my gosh. Actually, hey, you know what? Screw it. I don't have a quarterback yet. And honestly, I don't really care where he plays, whether it's in Denver or Green Bay or
On
Vegas.
Jeopardy.
Yeah, or on Jeopardy. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers because it makes sense.
I like the
Yep.
Goddard pick. I like
So,
the Rodgers pick.
I
There
don't
we go.
normally like to take two pass catchers from the same team, but with the tight end position as ugly as it is, I couldn't pass up Goddard there.
I get it. Okay, we're like tearing through now. I think he is going to end up being on auto. So, Jay, do you want to expand any more on your Goddard pick? Well, you have a second.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the prototypical post-type sleeper, especially it looks like Zach Ertz is finally going to be out of town. You know, everybody's been in on Goddard. He's got the talent, but everybody, I think, has just been early because it has been a two tight end show there. So once Ertz is gone, I think it's going to be Devonta Smith and Goddard, two guys I have on my team on this fake team. And, you know, all you need for a tight end is a couple catches and 30, 40 yards. And you pretty much got yourself a tight end one. So I think he's going to have that even if Ertz is there and he's got a sky-high ceiling.
Well, we just had some guys fly off the board. So, Herms, do you want to touch on the grouping that just flew off here? Oh, man, James
Oh,
They
yeah.
Conner
cleared out my
gone.
queue. That was going to be my next pick.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, after Jay took Dallas Goddard, we saw Jalen Waddle, Leonard Fournette, DJ Chark, then, post superstar sleeper ? Antonio Brown. That's a guy, definitely look out for him this year. Then Robbie Anderson, Jarvis Landry, James Conner. That's something that I do want to discuss. The Gus Bus, Zach Moss. Oh shit, what am I gonna do? This is terrifying. Oh my lord. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. I'm probably gonna get auto picked myself. No, I'm not.
What? Yeah, you did. Kenny Gainwell.
I did.
Oh, you got it in.
Yeah,
I
Kenny
can't
Gainwell.
imagine Kenny.
Love the
It
Gainwell
said
pick.
time was up. I do like the
It-
Gainwell pick.
I got that in right at the end. But yeah, shout out to Gus Bus. I think that especially at the value that he's going in like Fantasy Pros ADP. Remember, it was like something about like RB40. I mean, like come on, he's gonna get hella touches in that offense. And also James Conner, biased Steelers fan here, but as long as he's healthy, I think he's probably gonna get the slight edge over Chase Edmonds. So like in PPR, you could make the justification for choosing Chase Edmonds over, James Conner. But at the same time, I see James Conner being the goal line back there in Arizona and filling in quite nicely for Kenyon Drake. And then after that, we see Joe Burrow go. And then, we'll see what happens in the next 10 seconds. But, it's going to be back to Linda very soon.
I have to say, James Conner was kind of the one that stood out to me because I like Linda's defense of Naheem Hines. I think Naheem Hines is very good. I feel like she could have gotten James Conner in round 8, someone who is replacing Kenyon Drake, who was RB14 last year, ahead of Naheem Hines, RB16, and then gotten Hines here in round 9 anyway. So that was just the thing that was jumping to mind there. But again, I reached potentially on David Johnson.
I do not
so
like
I do
James
get
Conner.
it.
I did not realize we were doing James Conner again in 2021 until like 2 weeks ago. Somebody said it on a podcast, and I was like, "Wait,
If he's
All right.
healthy, the
yeah,
opportunity
Malcolm, you're on the
is
clock.
there.
You're gonna clock out, brother, or whatever." it
No, I'm
is.
not.
3 seconds.
Clock
Got-
I
out.
love that
Got
pick.
Rashad Bateman in, and now I have to just think: is there a running back that I like? 20 seconds.
While you think about it, I'm just gonna say that I think Matt Stafford in a Sean McVay offense is like as sexy and cheap as it gets. So
I think he's
I'll
got
get
top
that.
5 potential. I absolutely
Me
love
too.
that pick.
I thought that last year, and he can't do it without the rushing. I just don't think he can anymore.
I think he can in a McVay offense.
Even with Jared Goff, we never saw it. We never got even quite close to top
That's
5.
Jared Goff.
Hey, Jared
Big
Goff.
difference in Jared Goff and Matthew
Jared
Stafford.
Goff, from a fantasy perspective, absolutely killed it for a bit there. Like,
Right, that should make you
McVay's
that much
offense-
more excited about Stafford, who's a lot more talented than Jared Goff.
He is, but we've seen Stafford utilize that talent plenty, and it's still like he was at a top 5 pace in 2019 before the injury. And again, I think that felt like his ceiling at QB5. I just, without the rushing upside,
right?
I just can't see it in fantasy in a traditional league.
Well, I hate to say it, Malcolm, but it's going to be 3 against 1 on this take, because as much as I do agree with the prior concerns of Matthew Stafford, he's never had the talent group that he will have to work with here in Los Angeles. I mean, come on, like for his entire career, it's been Calvin Johnson and shrug your shoulders. It's been Kenny Galladay and shrug your shoulders. Like, yes, I mean, shout out to the services of what's his name? Golden Tate. Yes, he was good for a long time. I vibe with it. I'm an auto pick. It is what it is. I don't really. I got Tom Brady. Yo, actually, I feel really good about this.
You're taking 2 QBs in a 12-man draft.
Yes, absolutely, I am. But no, but it ties back to a point I made earlier about Mike Evans, because now I have a stack. But yeah, I mean, just year 2 in the Bruce Arians system, super solid. Also, I know that while we may have gone to the 32nd pick and we're giving like less and less analysis as the show is going along, keep in mind, for the first hour and a half of this show, you got very, very awesome, in-depth, pick by pick rationale behind all of it. So, hey, there's nothing wrong with things fading off toward the end. I mean, hey, that happens to the best of us. It happened to Joe Montana a little bit. It happened to...
When is that going to happen to Tom Brady?
Yeah, it might happen to Tom Brady, and also like hot take... I don't know. That kind of happened to the Beatles there a little bit. I know we're getting into some music stuff right there, but I'm not super impressed with the later Beatles discography. I'm going to be honest.
Oh,
but the only
dude,
reason
White Album slaps. How dare you?
That's well. See, but here's the thing: the White Album, in my mind, is the Tom Brady Tampa Bowl Super Bay. Okay, I'm sticking with me.
I like the way that sounds.
Oh
yeah, the
Gerald
Tampa Bowl Super
Everett
Bay.
off the board. That was going to be my tight end.
Oh gosh. Oh. So the tight end episode of the Lateral show has not come out yet. Will be coming up next week, but like Gerald Everett's going to be such a huge topic of conversation for us. Oh my gosh. Oh god. And then Darrell Henderson ended up going 1104. That's an interesting one. We talked about that a little bit. And then Corey Davis being auto picked to me. I don't hate it. I genuinely do not hate it, especially because after I took Mike Evans in round 4, I didn't have a wide receiver. So the computer just handing me Corey Davis, so I feel pretty decent about. And we also touched on that in past episodes. Wow, see, even the auto drafted picks are really tying into conversations that we have had on this podcast. So look at us. Look at us. We're killing it. Even when we're speeding up the clock, we're killing it. Wow, this is such a great show. Oh my gosh, this is just fabulous work right here. Oh, the Lateral bot taking Todd Gurley. Wow, why did you? Okay. All right. Well, Malcolm, it's back to you for your final picks. What's up?
Well, so I couldn't get Gerald Everett, so I'm going to get a guy who might be the third best receiver on his team, but one of those guys is a running back, and that is Adam Troutman for the Saints. I like him a lot. I just like Everett a little bit more, but Troutman, he's got a reason to stay on the field. They like him to block. They like him to catch. I'm not impressed by any of the Saints wide receivers not named Michael Thomas. And then I had a running back pick queued up, and that's Jamal Williams, who has been able to handle a starting workload in the past, should get some decent usage in Detroit, and DeAndre Swift could get injured again. So, whatever.
Yeah, and more on Adam Troutman for the previously teased tight end episode of the Lateral show coming up. Another name that will come up is Linda's selection of Blake Jarwin. Please sing the praises of that man real quick for us.
It's important to ignore anyone that brings you the argument there's too many mouths to feed. We saw last year that it literally didn't matter, and it was with Ben DiNucci and Andy Dalton and Scrubs at quarterback. Dak Prescott loves him some Blake Jarwin, and we saw Dalton Schultz be subpar, and everybody was like, well, he's great. No, he's not. He fell forward. His yards after the catch were a fall forward after catching the ball. And I think Blake Jarwin has the potential to be a solid mid-tier 1 tight end. Not that like, no, he did okay, but I think he has the potential of, 7 to 8 touchdowns and a solid amount of receptions. So I'm all in again.
Because lest we forget, didn't Dalton Schultz in PPR, if I remember correctly, finish at tight end 11?
Yeah, and it wasn't great.
Exactly, and even though Jarwin had the very early in the season-ending injury, they signed him to a pretty massive extension. So I know that there are some people out there being like, "Oh, well, I don't know who's going to win the job." It's like, well, if you follow the paper trail, it's definitely leading to Blake Jarwin.
He's getting paid significantly more. It's not even close.
And Dak legit, like in interviews, Dak is like, we got Amari Cooper, Blake Jarwin. The second name that comes out of his mouth is Blake Jarwin. And for CeeDee Lamb truthers, and I'm not saying he's going to out target CeeDee Lamb, but when that's your argument and the starting quarterback just casually listing his pass catchers, and that's like the second one is his tight end, I think that's like a part of fantasy football we don't talk about enough, but that's some subconscious bullshit. I watch too much Criminal Minds. That's not important.
Hell yeah.
I like Jay's last pick here. I kind of want to hear for your 1 QB, you're going with a guy who we have been told explicitly will not start week 1. So what was the thinking back there?
Well, it's only 12 rounds, so that's the one thing I always wait on quarterback. I don't care, unless you're getting Patrick Mahomes in like the 8th, 9th, 10th round, which is never going to happen. In a 1 quarterback league, I'm waiting on quarterback and taking a shot on a guy like a Justin Fields or a Tua or somebody who has that ceiling. And then, you could find the Kirk Cousins, the Ryan Fitzpatrick's, guys that'll be perfectly fine. That if, Justin Fields doesn't start right away, he probably won't. It's going to be a few weeks, but he can have that Justin Herbert type of impact. So for me, I'm going to wait on quarterback. I'm going to take a high upside guy, and I'm going to supplement until he gets in there with a streamer, somebody off the wire that in a 1 quarterback league, those guys are a dime a dozen. Just find somebody with a decent matchup.
Drew Lock. Sorry.
You couldn't even finish that with a straight face.
I know. I'm sorry.
Geez, but and that is something that we talked about in our inaugural quarterback episode. I know that there are a lot of people who don't necessarily advocate for taking 2 QBs in redraft, especially if it's a single QB format. But I, for one, am a proponent of doing the whole young gun paired with a vet and just rolling those dice until things become a little more consistent for the young guy that you take. I don't hate that strategy at all. It's something that I literally preached on this show. So that logic is airtight, at least in my mind. I don't know. Malcolm, you got any final thoughts on that, the draft, the episode, before we get into sign-offs and, the whole previewing things we have coming up, because we are the utmost professional people in the entire fantasy football industry.
I got to tell you, the Lateral bot sure knows how to not draft a team. This is a terrible, terrible team.
Yeah, Todd Gurley and Devin Singletary to round it out. You know what, Lateral bot, for as much shit as you like to give me on this podcast, you're kind of an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been an interesting draft. There are a couple guys in here with where they went surprised me. Though again, it's only a 12-person draft, so I think Gerald Everett maybe went higher than he normally would, but it's because you're just punting on tight end till the end, and that's a tight end you believe in. That pick might happen more in round 14 or 15 rather than round 11. Yeah, I would say overall not a ton incredibly crazy.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, oh my God, this was so much fun. Yeah, it got a little sped up toward the end there, but that's just because runtime is what it is. And, like I mentioned before, just because, some of the takes, got a little shorter and whatnot toward the end there, the bulk of this episode was absolutely fantastic, super in-depth, and I have to thank our esteemed guests for making this the special event that it was. So, to round out the first ever live edition of the Lateral Show, technically speaking, hey, Jay, tell everybody again where they can find you and what kind of stuff you're working on. Let the public know.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at GMenJ. I'm a writer for Roto Underworld and also a part of the team at FYF. And my daughter just woke up. Sorry about that. Looks like she's going to my my bedroom. So it looks like my daughter will be sleeping in the middle of me and my wife tonight. So I am a father of two, as you can tell. That's why we were talking.
Woo-hoo!
I will be up early, it sounds like. But yeah, find me on Twitter at GMenJ.
Yeah, there it is. Woo! Shout out kids. Other people who have kids or kid or whatever. I don't know. Linda, hey,
What?
do the thing where you do the plug and stuff, just like he did, but for you instead. Where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Lindellions, Monday nights at 7:15-ish Eastern on Fantasy Besties, and Wednesdays with Fantasy Football Confidential at 9 Eastern. And then once the season starts, and we've teased this a little bit, Steph, Cooter, Victoria, and I are doing a Sit Start Sunday show come season start. So we're looking forward to that.
Excited for that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh,
my
boy.
God. It's going to be so much fun. Oh, jeez. Shout out, because Sundays are for the girls.
You got it.
What is up? Hell yeah. Yeah. Hey, Malcolm, what's up? Where can they find you? And what are you working on? What do you want people to know about?
So you can find me at thelateralff.com. You can find my work there in the written form. You can find my audio stuff at Spotify. This is one of the things that I do in that format. I also do some video stuff, which you can find on YouTube or you can catch live on Twitter. One of those things that I do on the video is the Lateral Weekly Variety Hour-ish, which I will be here tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time with Sam.
Tonight when you're listening.
Yeah. With Sam Wagman, a.k.a. the Swagman, and Connor, Kanban NFL. Should be a blast. Two incredible guys to have on as I return from my vacation where I thought I was going to get some work done maybe on vacation. Didn't happen. So I think I'll have 2 articles dropping this week. I'm going to have another Finding Value column coming out, and I will have my Perfect Draft series. I'm going to have an edition of that coming out because that was pretty much in the can before I went ahead and went on vacation. So that's what's coming up. And Sam and Connor, if you're listening, the show sheet will be done before I go to bed. So you will still get that today as promised.
There it is. There it is. And as always, you can find me, Herms, because that's what I call myself, on Twitter at Herms NFL and nowhere else. Please don't find me anywhere else. Guys, I swear to God, it won't end well. Yes. And, like Malcolm said, www.thelateralff.com, on Twitter at thelateralff. We have a YouTube. We have this podcast, as I'm sure you've already found because you're listening to it, but Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, a couple other places I've never heard of, but evidently it's distributed on these platforms, so good for you for finding this. Anyways, yeah. Next week, we will be breaking down the tight end position. I know we promised that a while ago, but hey, there's nothing wrong with, delaying things for reasons that you don't need to know about because it's not your business. But what is our business is fantasy football and looking at fantasy football in a sideways manner. That was a really awkward way. It's
a sideways look at fantasy football. It's literally the slogan.
I know. I always mess it up, and I don't know. Until next time, yeah. Woohoo! Lateral. Yeah.